All right, guys. Welcome,
Right.
welcome back to our Coffee Morning Career podcast. Today we have a special guest, Georgie, Emad Georgy.
You got it.
Yeah,
That's right.
former CTO at Experian, a former
Yep.
CTO at Beachbody, and Emad is running the consulting company Georgie Leadership Technology.
Georgie Technology Leadership.
Georgie
That's right.
Technology Leadership.
You got it.
GTL.
That's right.
GTL.
That's right.
All right. Okay. And so what we're gonna do, we streaming through the Zoom, and people will join
Yep.
to our Zoom. They will give us the resume for the feedback.
Great. Bring it.
Yeah, I see some of them already joined. I will be monitored to mute, guys. And before we're going to start resume reviews, I asked Emad to share his career story, which is,
Yep.
I think, very interesting because not many people got to that level, being a CTO at these big companies like Experian, like Beachbody, and running the successful consulting company. And I am curious by myself, like, Emad, tell me your career story, how you ended up.
Oh, wow. Crazy career story.
Yeah.
So I started coding when I was 11 years old. I was raised in an immigrant family, and my parents both worked, and we're getting by. And I didn't really know anything about computers, and they didn't know anything either. But they bought me an old beat up one, and they said, "Here you go, play with it," And I expressed some interest. And I remember it was summer, and I locked myself in the room for a week. I think I read the manual a few times over. Didn't mean anything to me. I tried coding. I mean, back then it was just you start a computer and there was a command line, and that was it.
Right,
It was
right,
nothing.
Blue screen.
That's it. Yeah. So, I just kept experimenting and trying, and somehow at the end of that week, I had coded my first game.
Nice. What
It's
kind
actually
of
a fly swatter game
fights water?
where animated a fly that moved around in 3 zones of the screen, and there was 3 fly swatters. So you press 1, 2, 3, and you try to get it right, and then with sound effects. And I mean, I was all about it. I loved it, and I came out of that week knowing what I wanted to do. I wanted to be in technology, and then through a number of course of events, every job I've been working since then. So I've been working since I was 11.
Wow.
And I worked.
Wait, hold on. How did you get a class?
I don't know if I can say that officially, but somehow I was actually testing bugs for a local video game company at the age of 12, and then I was getting payment in the mail. I was getting paid by the bug, and I thought I was the bomb, because kids my age were not worried about that, and here I am making a few bucks doing stuff like that. I worked fixing computers at local stores, and we can tell some stories about that too. I worked coding all through high school, all through college. So by the time I got to college, my professors either hated or loved me. Those that were working loved me, and those that didn't, they knew I could call BS on the material. And I was telling all the students the same thing. So, but yeah, I worked in tech. That the only job I've ever had growing up till now has been technology, and I'm sure we'll get into some of those stories as well. But yeah, that's how it started.
All right, can you tell me, like, what was the milestone in your career that brought you to the? I'll ask you later, like, how to become, how to get into the leadership, and how to transition from IC role, individual contributor, to leadership. But what was your story? How did you?
Yeah, for me, I even as a young developer, I always wanted more. It's that old saying that we're not laying bricks, we're building cathedrals. you
Yeah.
know, like we're part of something bigger. And so even as a young developer, I was always right after a release, I was looking over the shoulder of sales guys or marketing guys like, hey, how are you using this? And they're looking at me like, what are you doing here? You know, you go code in the corner somewhere. But I wanted to know. And I think that as human beings, we have a core need to be relevant. I want to know that what I'm doing actually matters. You know,
Why I'm doing this, right?
exactly. So that you know, I was pushing myself into spaces where I was quote unquote not allowed as a programmer, and I think that opened a lot of doors as well. And then along the way, I was fascinated that, you know, I think I mentioned this to you, that one of the things I learned is that all technical debt comes from leadership debt. And I was really fascinated because I had really bad examples of leadership on teams that you know, people I reported to, and really good ones as well. And you know, just as an engineer, analyzing patterns and understanding why is this team successful, why is this team not successful, why is this product successful, and looking at the aspect of leadership, I found that, you know, if I ever get into a leadership position, I want to make sure that people feel like it's an unforgettable experience, like they're forever changed. They have grown as a result of whatever small part I can play in their career. And I discovered, and I am still very passionate about this, is that the reason I was put on this earth was to grow better leaders in technology at the end of the day. And God knows we need it. I mean, when you talk about like leadership debt, like I feel like it's getting worse out there with leadership, and there are all sorts of reasons for that. So, you know, I became very passionate about the bigger things around coding, the business aspects, and around the leadership impact in software development.
Yep, I totally agree. I totally agree. You know, also, you told me a great story about when you were thinking that you failed the interview.
Ah, yes, that's right. Yeah.
Can you walk us through that? Because I think
Yeah.
this is a very important lesson that you can share with us as well.
Yeah. So that was the story was my first job out of college. I was actually,
Emad, can I?
Yeah.
One more thing, I need to double check if we are still
streaming.
streaming.
Yeah.
Guys, can you see us, hear us?
QA check.
QA check, yes.
Talk to us.
Oksana, can you, because I think that we have get frozen. Let me stop videos. Start again. Okay,
we go.
here we go.
Yeah.
I see Oksana just joined to our Zoom chat. Oksana, can you hit the plus sign if you can hear us, see us? I mean, guys, I'm sorry. We are decided to stream it today
We are
outside in this
outdoors.
outdoors
Yes.
in Irvine.
That's right.
And very nice place. But the drawback, oh, thank you, Oksana. Thank you. The drawback is that we may have connection issues.
Yeah.
But
Can I say something?
yes,
Yeah, yeah. So Evgeny, thank you very much for what you're doing. So it's very like, you know, I'm looking for my first job as a QA, and it's very stressful. Like interviewing, I always fail. I've had like maybe 5 already. I failed, and so you give me like a hope. You know, when I read your in the comments, like you when you were looking for your first job, so you had also you felt interviews. Like I just read the comment, like you said, you when you were looking for your first job, you also had like bunch of sheets around, and you know it gives me like really hope that everybody at the beginning on the same like page, and so you just have to proceed and just going forward, and I will finally find my first job. So eventually,
Oksana, did you prepare your resume to review?
I did. Yes, I mean I have my
right.
resume.
We'll do
Will
that.
send to this chat. I will we will review it after like maybe 10-15 minutes. We because
Oh.
imagine we have so great guests here.
Uh,
Guess what?
It would be amazing.
Ahmad was
oh
a
yeah,
beginner
we're
as
about
well.
to tell that story, right?
Yeah. And
Okay.
this is very interesting. So listen very carefully. Maybe
Okay.
sometimes you can you can become also a CTO or
Oh, yeah.
any leadership position.
Yeah.
You never know.
At least somebody, intern, somebody at the beginning. So I'm just looking for.
Absolutely. We all start
Okay.
somewhere.
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
so
Thank you
I,
so
I
much.
was working a job my last year of college, and it was a week before graduation, and I was set to be promoted on graduation. You know, I was working on a web team. Everybody liked me. I didn't understand anything about corporate politics, or I was a kid. I just go code and you do your thing, and they were actually planning a celebration for me that night. My coworkers, to celebrate my promotion. This is how much of a done deal that it was. And one thing I didn't realize is that my boss at the time, our manager, was very, very insecure about my presence on the team. I was ambitious. I was growing very fast. And anyway, she called me into her office that day, and she said, "I'm sorry, you're not getting promoted. In fact, we're going to let you go."
oh my God.
And it was like such a heartbreak, and everybody was shocked, right? And I didn't even know what was going on. I didn't understand. um like I said, you've never been exposed to corporate politics, and
Yeah.
I had no understanding. And I remember I knew a VP there, a vice president. I happened to know him, and I walked into his office and I said, "This is what happened. What's And he looked at me and he said, I mean, this guy was very well connected. And he said, "Well, what do you want to do?" At the time I'm young, and I said, "Well, I want to work for one of the big consulting firms."
Yeah.
Back then it was the big five, the Arthur Anderson, all these guys.
Yeah.
I want them to ship me all over the world. I want to work on big projects. I want to go for it. He said, "Okay." He picked up the phone just as I was in his office, picked up the phone, talked to somebody, blah, 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 hung up, and he said, "Okay, you have an interview with my friend who's a partner at KPMG." Okay. So I looked up KPMG and I found, wow, this is my dream job.
Top
Like,
four, big
yeah,
four.
big four. Now, keep in mind at that time, Arthur Anderson was in a lot of trouble because they were putting college kids on these huge enterprise projects, and the projects were failing at an alarming rate.
Yeah.
And so KPMG, to battle that, just my luck, of course, they had a massive marketing campaign, even TV commercials, that were saying that the average number of years of experience of a KPMG consultant was 15 years. Here I am, a kid, just not even graduated
Uh-oh.
yet.
Uh-oh.
And of all the big five companies, this was the one, right? So
He did you a favor
I guess, yeah.
at that time. He was
So
like, okay.
I remember I had this interview with this partner the following week. And
Uh-huh.
what I did, I looked up the company history. Now, remember, I don't have a lot of experience at this point. I looked up the company history. I looked up the company values. I looked up their case study. I studied the company. And then I took all the things. I even mapped their values to my career accomplishments. Okay. Like, this is why we are a match. So I'm not only am I going to show you that I did my homework, I deserve to be here, I know the company well, but I'm also going to do the homework of connecting the dots for you to tell you why I am a fit for this company. So I wanted to stand out, right? No one else.
You
was doing
were
the homework.
dedicated and committed.
Absolutely. And I became convinced that I'm destined to work for that company, period. So I remember we met at the Torrance Marriott here in LA, and this partner's name was Bob. And I got there early, 5 minutes early, and
Oh, Oksana, can you stop sharing the screen at this moment? Just send me your. I'm sorry for interrupting.
that's right.
Yeah, just send me in the chat. I'll do the rest. Don't worry. Don't worry.
So I showed up early. I'm in my suit. I'm ready to go. 5 minutes passes. 10 minutes passes. 20 minutes passes. 30 minutes passes. Now I'm getting a little like, and finally this guy shows up. Older gentleman, mid-50s, big red mustache. Big red hair. Comes in. Obviously, he looks like a partner at a big five consulting firm. Came in, shook my hand, did not apologize for being late. Sat down and said, "Okay, tell me about yourself." That's what everybody asks, right?
Regular question.
Right? So I said, "Okay." So I started talking. The minute I started talking, he was looking out the window. He was looking out the, like, I'm just here as a favor to my friend,
Oh, wow.
and I'm not, you have no chance in hell.
Yeah, that's a that's a bad sign.
It was tough. I remember when we talked about this, I described to you, like, I had this internal struggle because I was getting angry on the inside.
Yeah.
You showed up 30 minutes late. Now you're not listening to me. And I was thinking, like, maybe I should say something. Maybe I should call him on it and just end this interview. But something inside me said, no, I prepared too much for this. He's going to hear everything that I have to say, period. And that was a really key decision point that you'll find out why later. So I said all my thing, and he said, oh, okay, yeah, that sounds very nice. You certainly have a nice suit on, but you're not experienced enough. We need average 15 years experience. He starts to stand up. I'm standing up with him. He shakes my hand, and I do not quit pitching him. I still talk to him like, you're wrong. This is why I believe I belong here. And he said, well, thank you. I appreciate the effort. He starts walking out of the lobby, and I'm walking with him shoulder to shoulder. I'm in his ear. I'm still talking to him. I'm still pitching him. We walk out the hotel. At this point, I say, I will work for you for free for 3 months. That's how much I believe I'm a match. And if I'm a match, then you pay me, you give me a job, right? But that's how much, and the adrenaline was rushing so much. I did not realize that I walked this guy all the way to his car, and I was opening the car door for him. He probably thought I was carjacking him or something. I don't know, right? Anyway, he gets in his car and he takes off. And I remember standing in that parking lot, coding from the age of 11 to this point in time, and thinking to myself, did I make the right career choice? Maybe I am not fit for technology. And it was a real big moment for me, and I know at that point, I did everything I could to get that job. And it was a real mental, struggle, emotional struggle for
It
me.
was devastating.
Devastating. Like, at that point, it's been 10 years of working in technology, even though I'm a kid, right? And I'm young. And anyway, the following week, I got a call. I said, hello, my name is Arthur. I'm a senior manager. I work for Bob, the guy I met with, and we'd like to do a second interview with you. And boy, my ego went through the roof. I think I screamed my head out of the car on the freeway, because it was a validation of everything that I believed, right? And I got the second interview, and I remember it was in Manhattan Beach. That was my first introduction to Manhattan Beach. And we were meeting for breakfast. I got there early. I ordered him breakfast. I ordered him coffee and fruit. He came to the podium and he said, oh, I'm meeting with Emad Georgy. He'll be coming shortly. I said, oh, no, sir, he's right here. And he came to the table and everything was ready. And I was like, hello, and at that point,
nobody does that.
well, you gotta do these kind of things, right? Nothing to lose.
That is a commitment.
And so that interview went really, really well. Arthur and I really hit it off. And then I made it to a third interview, and I made it to the job.
What was the position?
It was a senior engineer.
Senior engineer.
Yeah, so I'm a developer on the consulting team, and they would deploy us to really big clients all over the world. And the cool part, just to finish the story real quick, is I worked there for a couple of years. But the second guy that interviewed me, Arthur, he approached me after 2 years and said, hey, we're breaking away and we're going to do a startup. And this was in the .com era, and I was the first employee at the startup. So I just think back to things like that, where if I had not believed in myself and really just went, balls to the wall on it, my career would have taken a very different path. And I work with a lot of people that, you look at qualifications on a job posting, like, I'm not fit for it. I'm not even going to apply. Why not? You never know, right?
Yeah.
So it was truly a life-changing, pivotal moment in my career.
Emad, I'll tell you that you've done something tremendous differently compared to anybody else almost. It very reminds me of this movie with Will Smith. Pursuit of Happiness.
Pursuit of Happiness, yeah.
Right?
That's a good one.
I think very, very similar situation. He was desperate. He was showing his dedication.
Yeah.
And when you told me this story, I was like, damn, Because you know what? Senior engineers nowadays, they would be like, I don't give a,
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They would be, dude, you late. I'm gonna be
Yeah.
out.
We're done.
But
yeah.
you didn't do this, all right? So you decided I was investing my time too much
That's right.
for that thing.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I see people start coming. Guys, send your resume to the chat. And Oksana, please, please, please remove all your sensitive information from the chat, because first we are streaming this Zoom call, and I don't want to expose your name over the streaming. So if you can redact your name and your contact information, that would be it. Don't worry about anything else, but remove your personal information and send to the chat again. All right. And the other guy who just joined as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was the first job out of college, and I learned there's no one else that could be the best advocate of you but yourself.
By yourself, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's a great lesson, because, and again, like the same thing when you were working through your feelings.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
from the moment of your peak. I was ready. This is for me, and you thought you got rejected,
Oh yeah.
and
I thought it was done.
you were all the way to the bottom, right?
Oh,
Your
yeah.
feelings like, damn,
I
maybe
thought my career was done.
maybe it's not you.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's not for me.
But guys, and the same thing applies to anyone who is looking for the first job. I know it's hard. It's hustle.
It's very hard.
It's very hard, but you need to go through, and it's not this is, I mean, sometimes, yeah, you need to brush up your skills, polish your skills, hard skills, soft skills, whatever it needs,
Yeah.
but not all the time is just because of you. It can be a million other reasons. Don't
Usually it is.
Usually it is, right?
Right.
Usually it is. Usually it is.
Yeah. Can I offer an analogy maybe on that? Like because you're so right, Evgeny, like it's such a hard thing. Like the job market right now is very difficult for a number of reasons. It's flooded with people and candidates, right?
Yes.
And there are pros and cons of that as a first-time job seeker, as well. But I'm a big fan of the Matrix movie, right?
Yeah.
And I believe like we start following these, like in the Matrix movie, it's like this fake world that everybody lives. And
Yeah.
there's only a few people that know that world is fake,
Yeah.
right? And in some ways, this job market, you could even say the same thing about in a corporate environment. We're living in a fake world. We're following these traditional rules. You apply for a job. Oh, they didn't get back to me. Okay. These are all made up rules.
Yeah.
And so part of it is you got to kind of step back and reframe and like, how do I break the rules
Yeah.
to stand out? And it's not just for first-time job seekers. I was talking to a CEO the other day who, following up with sales prospects, he said, well, I called them and they never got back to me. Well, they got a million things going on.
Yeah.
You're not the first thing on their mind. So you got to follow up. You got to do
Exactly.
different things. You got to send them a basket. You got to, ask about them. You got to do, there's a lot of different things that you can do.
Exactly.
So I would just encourage everyone who is discouraged to maybe start to reframe and challenge, like maybe I'm operating under the wrong rules here, right? But it is a very difficult market right now.
It is.
Yeah.
And I want to bring a spoiler. Emad and I, we were just chatting, and we were thinking to make another podcast about hiring process for the hiring managers. What could be done
Yep.
better
That's right.
in terms of hiring?
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Let's do this
Let's do that.
next time.
I'm down.
But Emad, about your journey to CTO,
Yes.
obviously, like it is. Once you got this job,
Yeah.
what happened
Once I got the first job or the CTO job?
before? How did you get to the CTO? Yeah.
It's a long story.
But before that, you were a manager, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
I was a manager, I was a director, I was a VP, in a number of areas. So the first time I became a manager, believe it or not. Maybe I'll tell you that story real quick, and then
Yeah,
I'll tell you a CTO story too.
this is actually a very important story because
Yes.
how you ended up being a manager.
I was an IC at the
Uh-huh.
time, and I became a manager of a small team, 4 devs, a designer, a couple QA. We even had customer support, so it was an end-to-end team. It was for a very big company, but it was a very small product in their portfolio. Okay, so I became a manager. My boss was not technical. And the day I became the manager, he took me aside. I inherited this team, and he said, okay, the one advice I have for you is you need to take care of Mike. And Mike was the star developer who had all the domain knowledge.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
And he said, if you do anything, you got to take care of this guy, make sure he's happy. And I'm like, okay, and Mike and the rest of the team, they never reported to a manager who's technical. This is one of my beliefs, by the way, even as a CTO, you got to stay technical. I still code today, and I was coding back then, right? So anyway, I got introduced to Mike my first week on the job. This is my first week ever as a manager. Okay. Every day that week, and this was a long time ago, by the way. Every day that week, he showed up late. Now, I don't care about time. It's fine. People's time, you can manage your own time. Everyone's, adults. But he was missing customer meetings without notice. He was missing some critical things.
So that was hurting.
That was hurting. And that was my first week as a manager. Monday to Friday, he was at least an hour or two late with no notice. So that first Friday, I sat him down. My very first manager conversation. And I said, hey, Mike, you've been late every day, and this is unacceptable. I don't know how you've been operating before, but we're getting to know each other, and I want you to know that that is not acceptable here. Not for me. I hold myself by the same standard, but certainly not for you as well. And he nodded. He was this eccentric, middle-aged guy in a rock band, just to give you kind of prima donna type of guy, right? We all know them. There's one on every team. And he nodded, and he was very sincere in saying this. He says, I want to thank you, Emad. I want to thank you for being an a-hole. Because I need that in my life. So thank you for that. Thank you. And that was my first manager conversation, right? So like, what did I get myself into, right? And then the second week on the job, we had a very critical production issue. I was in a meeting, and I ended him and said, we need you to solve this problem. He said, I'm too busy. I said, no, we have a critical issue. I said, I'm too busy. So I got up and I went into to his cube, and I said, look, we need to fix this. I'm too busy right now, and I stayed consistent. I said, well, we need to work on it. Well, the problem's going to be too hard. And I'm technical, so I know actually it's a fix to a SQL query that's going to take, with testing, same day, let's say, right? So I said that. Then I got him even more pissed.
Yeah.
So then he grabbed his jacket and he said, well, maybe I should leave and take a break. I said, maybe you should never come back. And he said, oh, really? Grabbed his jacket. He walked up and down the cubes. Emad says he's a people person. He just told me to leave, yelling at the top of his lungs, So anyway, a lot of stories about this guy, but that was my first manager interaction. And eventually, we had to let him go. And that's a whole story. If we have time, we can get back into that. But it reinforced for me the need for good leadership, good accountability, because the other people on the team, the high performers, we found that actually he's not a high performer. Actually, the code is really bad quality. And actually the high performers are the quiet ones on the team that were coding just fine, but everybody was scared of this guy. And when they saw me standing up to him, man, it really bonded the team, because we stand for something. We have something to take pride in. We don't allow incompetence here. We don't allow drama here. We're better than that, right? As an organization. So that was the first manager job. So that was fun. First CTO job. Want me to talk about that a little bit? How much time do we have? But I could keep telling you stories.
We'll have time.
I wanna be conscious of everyone's time. I'll tell you, maybe I'll tell you one more story about that guy and what led to his
Yeah, yeah.
firing. So it's going back to Mike and my first manager.
And this
job.
is very important because it's, it's always relevant.
Oh yeah,
It's always relevant because there's always, you guys have a decision, right? How you gonna act?
always.
Are you gonna be ego? This is ego
Yes.
problem.
Yes.
This is ego problem. Everybody has ego. Some can manage, some can not. And
That's
I
very
think
true.
this is what we can learn,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And it, especially if that will damage your team.
Oh yeah.
Not just, okay, you have ego and nobody cares about that.
Right.
Unless it's gonna hurt the team effort and the moral in
Yeah,
general, right?
exactly. 100%. And this guy was hurting it. And, so he continued with, this guy might continue with a lot of situations. And then within the first month, he was apparently taking naps at his desk a lot.
Hmm.
And I caught him, a number of people caught him. I mean, you can't make this stuff up, right? So I took him into a conference room and I said, and at the same time in my head, I'm thinking to myself, I can't believe I'm having this conversation. I said, hey, you really can't take naps at work, but while we're working, go to your car, you can take naps, just don't do it on your desk. And he was shocked and insulted that I would dare tell him that. He said, I can't sleep in my own cube. How dare I work so many hours for you? He didn't work many hours at all. He was pacing back and forth. He was so insulted. And that was really the last straw. And then, we did fire him. And that was my first firing as well. And, I've been on both sides of being laid off. I fired a number of people over the years as well. One thing I learned a couple things. One is about that. One is that everyone that I fired, I should have fired 6 months prior. And it hurt the team for me to allow it to occur when everyone knew it's not a fit. Now, you want to give people as many chances as possible, and I believe in that, right? But the second is that it's actually not my decision to fire. It's your decision.
Yep.
I'm just enforcing your decision. I believe in that in myself. Like, I am always in control of my career, period. And it doesn't mean that there aren't hard choices, but nobody fires me. I let me go. There's something I could have done better, surely. So I believe in that. Like, when it comes time to come to the table and inform someone that, hey, from a performance perspective, you're not cutting it. Number one, it shouldn't be a surprise. But number two, I'm actually not deciding that for you. You decided that.
Actually, if we're talking about firing, I think many people taking it as a failure or take it as very personal.
Oh yeah.
I think, it makes matter because you got rejected, right? Nobody likes rejections. Nobody
No,
likes being
never.
fired.
Yeah.
It makes sense, but I've been fired by myself.
Yeah.
As well. I've been fired once, but it was the greatest moment at that time because
Wow.
I ended up getting another much better job.
Yeah.
And I think when you got fired, obviously you have bills, you have family, you have things you have to care, and you may be in a bad situation. But despite that, you just need to think that actually this is an opportunity.
Oh yeah.
This is an
Yeah.
opportunity
You got to.
for everyone, for
Yeah.
you getting better,
Yes.
learn something, and move on. Find another opportunity which you deserve, which you
100%.
can be.
Yeah.
You can contribute there much better, or you can even start your own thing. You
That's
never
right.
know. You
That's
never
right.
know.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was the first manager job.
Yeah.
I went on to other leadership roles. My first CTO job was also a mess.
Tell me
And
about
this
that.
is where we learn the most, right? So actually at that company, before I became CTO, I was leading a couple of product lines, smaller product lines. But in the company, everyone knew there was this huge project. It was enterprise-wide. It was the biggest project globally for this company.
Mhm.
It was a massive rewrite of a legacy platform.
Mm.
Okay, we're talking about almost 1,000 people on the project, outsourced vendor, all sorts
Oh,
of
wow.
stuff, right? It was about a year in, and I remember when the project started, I was really disappointed that I did not get the role, because I think I could do it all, you know, even though I was still only a manager or director at the time or something like that. And then anyway, the project went for a year, and the guy leading it, like, abruptly just left. Like, literally walked out the door, freaked out, walked out the door. And you know, there were rumors around town that this project's a mess, right? It's a death march. Nobody wanted to touch it.
Yeah.
And nobody did want to touch it. They started looking for the next person to lead it. Nobody raised their hand. You know what I was doing? Pick me, pick me. I wanted it.
I
right?
want this project.
I want it. And so I stepped into that CTO role first time, $60 million rewrite, multi-year rewrite of a platform.
Oh, wow.
Okay. And I told the executive team at the time, I said, look, I need like 30 days to just assess everything. I want to look at the code. I want to look, and I want to develop my own plan. I don't want to operate on this plan. Right. Man, I didn't know what I was doing. I mean, it was a mess. Data architecture was a mess. The data quality was a mess. There were 8 different outsourced vendors alone from India working on the project, different aspects of the project. The roadmap was a mess. Okay. There were people, low performers, high performers. Nobody knew what the difference, right? People thought they're agile. No one knew what it meant. They were fighting about agile and Kanban, and it was crazy. It was crazy, right? And here I am, first time CTO. I have no idea what I'm doing either. And so I took that 30 days to sort of assess everything. You know, one of the things I found out that for that first year of the project, they had only been developing the UI and maybe some APIs, but no data engineering behind it.
Oh, wow.
So actually they presented to the executives they were on track, because you could see in the demos that the UIs were working.
Something worked.
But the back end was nowhere close to being done.
Oh, wow.
So I remember I had to go into a boardroom of executives to reveal to them my results of my first 30 days. And I had to basically tell them that they were fooled, that actually things are a lot worse than you think. But I coupled that with a plan. I said, well, if you give me X, Y, Z, like, here's the new plan, here's how we're going to operate. I want this team to be restructured. I want this, I want this. You know, I came in with my demands, and I said, if I get all this, I could turn this around in a year. Okay, that was the proposal. And I remember walking into the room thinking to myself, I'm either going to get fired today or I don't know what's going to happen today. You know, so I presented my findings, and it was like a movie, like all the executives sitting on a straight table, and it was me presenting, right? It was like this linear T.
Oh, wow.
Right. And I presented it. And after I presented everything raw, right, there was like 30 seconds of silence. They're just staring at me, and I'm like, crap, I'm done. And to the credit of the CEO, this was over 20 years ago, and I actually just talked to him, reconnected with him. He said, this is the most honest assessment we've ever had of this project. They knew something was up. And to their credit, they gave me the support to turn around the project. And we did. We turned it around, and it was such a growth experience for me. That it was the first time I built the playbook that our company operates on now from a consulting perspective. And you know, a lot of people that I went to war with, and we went to war with together, we still talk today about that experience, right? So pretty cool stuff.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And then you went through all other companies. You ended up being CTO at Beachbody. You ended up being CTO at Experian.
That's right.
Tell me the point when you decided to start your own thing?
Yeah. Well, I was really fortunate in my career to be part of multiple startups.
Yeah,
And so those of you that have been part of startups, you get the bug. There's something about being part of something where it's not the matrix, right?
yeah,
You make your own rules. You can wear multiple hats. You see the impact of the work you're doing on your users in the market. So I had the startup bug in me for a while. And I actually believe I was hired by Experian because I could cut through the bureaucracy and figure out how to get stuff done. And so the entrepreneurial spirit was always there. I think it was, what do they call it now? Entrepreneurial, when you're part of a big company.
Yep.
And you still, so for me, it was very consistent, that entrepreneurial spirit. And when it was time to move on from Experian, it was like, this is my time. I believe in opportunity is about timing. Most opportunities are not going to come up again. And, if you're waiting for the right time or the perfect moment, they're going to pass you by. And so it was my opportunity to really jump. And I felt that, I had some great experiences working for companies and making a great impact on people and on the technology architecture. But I said, what if I can make that impact worldwide?
yeah,
What if I could do it outside of the boundaries of just one company? And then there was the part of me that, I wake up every morning with a chip on my shoulder. I want to see, do I still have what it takes? What if I was on my own without the comforts of a budget, a big budget, and bureaucracy and people and all this stuff? What could I do? I'm wired that way. So when I started my company, it took me a year to sign my first client. And signing my first client, that's a whole story. If we have time, I would love to share it. I burned through all my savings. In fact, the week.
So you quit and you was working on your own.
Yeah, I had some runway. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
I think that's important.
yeah, it's very important.
Don't go out there and just quit. But I ran out of it, and actually, it was literally the week before I signed my first client, my savings went to $0. I didn't have very much in checking either, to be honest with you. And that was tapping into investment funds and all this anyway. But yeah, signing that first client took a tremendous amount of hustle. You think about, you mentioned Yevgeny hustle,
Yes.
right? And I think that's huge. I chased my first client for 6 months before they signed.
Oh, wow.
So I was all our business, by the way, for the last 6 years has been through referrals, right? Up till about this year, we've been doing some different marketing campaigns and things of that nature, but we've had a very healthy consulting practice all over the world, only on referrals. Okay. I got referred to a CEO of a startup who they said really need technology help, technology consulting. They lacked a CTO at the time. And I got introduced to him. This company was in a space of really doing good in the world. So that kind of checked the box for me. There's a purpose behind this as well, because I spent so many years in digital marketing space, and I did a lot of cool stuff, but at the end of the day, it's to target better customers. Okay, I want to do more than just that. So it really checked the box for me. I had a great conversation with him, and then he passed me on to the rest of his executive team. Great conversations with them, built great bonds right from the first conversation. Then he came back to me and he said, okay, we want to hire you as our CTO. I said, I'm not available for hire. I'm running a company.
Yep.
Keep in mind, I'm making no money right now, right?
Oh, wow.
And I could have very easily taken the CTO job because I need it.
Yep.
And I have demands on my finances, as everybody does. And he said, well, I'm sorry. I think the quote was, we don't hire mercenaries. I said, we don't hire consultants, right? That was his principle. That was his value. And that's cool. Everybody has their beliefs and their values, how they operate, especially CEOs. And I said, well, that's great. So goodbye. And he said, well, goodbye to you. He didn't, the word wasn't goodbye. It was something a little less appropriate. Well, we'll leave it at that. And we went back and forth for 6 months. I would check in. I would follow up every week. Hey, has anything changed? Nope. Do you want to still be our CTO? No. And meanwhile, the months are flying by and I'm losing money. I'm not making any money. And by the way, guys, I'm hustling during this time. I'm doing multiple lunches a day, multiple coffees. I'm shaking from all the coffee meetings that I'm doing. I'm doing happy hours. I'm doing dinners. I'm doing calls every day. Okay. Every day for almost a year, nonstop, every day, meeting with people all the time, trying to pitch my services. Okay. And we went back and forth with the CEO now for 6 months. And about November, December that year, he finally called me and said, okay, just this once, I'm gonna hire consultants. I said, great. So I gave him, I had gotten some really good advice, and this is great advice for everybody here. Pricing in the startup space when you have your own startup is really tricky. How do I price? And typically we price ourselves much lower than we should. And I got this advice that you should always double whatever the number is in your head. And I was extremely uncomfortable with that.
I know.
But I put out double the number. And he said, he called me crazy. And I said, great, let me come in for a day. And they're based in Denver. Let me come in for a day and we'll go from there. You pay me for the day. Well, I met with the whole team and it was a lock. I know once I get in a room, it's going to be a lock,
Yeah.
right? Because I'm very genuine about what I do and I care. So after that, he said, okay, I will pay you, but you better be doing a damn good job. And that's when I knew I got him. And so we signed, that was my first client. And then it builds momentum. Like right after I signed them, I signed my second client the very following week. And actually it was a client in Australia, believe it or not. So that opened some doors out there. And I actually worked
Did you fly?
I was on a plane to Sydney within 2 weeks of signing that contract.
Nice.
And it was my first time in Sydney. And actually half of my family, my mother's side of the family, all immigrated to Sydney. They'd not met me since I was a baby. And so we did this massive family reunion out there.
Oh, wow.
Shout out to my family, Sydney. Massive party, drinking, dancing, music, everybody kissing me and I miss you. And, tell me stories about my grandfather. So it's funny, like, those kind of entrepreneurial opportunities because of the hustle and the drive and not giving up. It opened doors even personally for me to meet my family as well. And then, momentum builds because business, job seeking, software development, whatever you want to call it, I believe is about flow and momentum and keeping the rhythm going.
It is,
right?
It is. And, this story is very similar to your first job interview, right?
That's true. I didn't think of it that way.
It's actually, you got rejected first.
Yep.
Or you were thinking that you were rejected, but you were still going. You didn't stop.
That's right. Yeah.
Same applies here, right? And I think many people who are listening to us right now, they may experience the same situation.
Oh yeah.
When they say their savings are running out.
Yes.
When they think, oh, I felt desperate.
Yes.
What should I do? Keep going.
Yeah.
There's nothing what you can do about it. You can control about it that much. Only what you can do.
That's right. And, I think it's so important. I'll get philosophical for a minute, but the way I like to think about it is I'm planting an oak tree.
Yeah.
When I plant the oak tree, I have a vision for the oak tree. This is my career. This is the image of my career, right?
Yeah.
And the people walking by, they're only going to see a pile of dirt.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell them, no, that's going to be an oak tree. And they're going to laugh at me. Even when the oak tree starts to grow a little bit, become a plant, they say, well, that's a little plant. What do you mean it's going to be a tree?
Yeah.
So
exactly.
A lot of times in our life, especially in our career, nobody can see the vision that we can see about ourselves. And nobody's going to stand up for that vision because they don't know it. Right. So if we're waiting for other people to do it for us, it's not going to happen. They're just going to say it's a pile of dirt.
Right. Totally. Emad, that was a very inspiring story. And I think
thank you.
Many of us who are listening that I got inspired for sure. And
I love it.
It brought me back when I was searching for my first job, when I was searching for my first client, the same thing.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah.
But let's save it for the next one.
I want to hear it.
I'll share it with you too. Anyway, we have a couple of people join. Oksana will be first,
right,
who sharing her resume, and we will review it. The rest of you guys, you can also send the resume, remove your personal stuff from your resume and send it to the chat. We'll review it and give you a feedback.
Or questions too, right? Or
Yeah, and you guys are welcome to ask questions. Whoever is looking in the stream right now, how you can, join to crushinginterview.com and join to our next Zoom meeting. You can also send us questions and send your resume to review.
yeah, sure.
All right, let me share my screen. First, yes, this one. Okay. So Oksana, software QA engineer.
Yep.
Let me zoom a
Yeah,
little
there you
bit.
go. For my
Yeah.
old eyes.
Yeah. Software QA engineer. Go deploy. Okay. So like bootcamp graduate.
Yep.
Emad, what do you think?
Well,
Honestly.
a couple things stand out. One is that, when I think about resumes, there's a lot of tips on how to beat the system and how to get attention. I think about your first interviewer. What are they going to ask? What are they going to care about? I like to see at the top of the resume, I like to see just a summary of what are your accomplishments. So here, Oksana, we see professional skills, which I think is great. But I would start with like, what's the most accomplishment you're most proud of? Excuse me, right? Like, what did you do? What was the before? What did you do? What was the result? And I would list a couple of those, even if they cross multiple jobs, right? Because typically in a resume, we go sequentially by job and people want to see that. But of all the jobs in your career, I know you have only one listed here, which is fine. List out what are the accomplishments? What are you most proud of? Because if you do get the interview, that's what you want to share right away.
Right.
So it makes sense to put it at the top of the resume.
Maybe it could be like in the summary section or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually I do this even in my own resume. I have a section at the top called accomplishments. And I put out here are the list of projects and things that I've done that I'm most proud of.
When you were looking at the resume of engineers, same thing, like, or when you were as an engineer?
Oh yeah, as a hiring manager as well. Because I do a lot of interviewing of candidates on behalf of clients as well. I'm already looking for that stuff anyway. So if you're gonna make it hard for me, I gotta go down. I gotta look through all the sequence of your jobs to figure out, well, what are the most important things you did? I'm gonna look for it anyway. So make it easy for me.
Make it easy. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Exactly. What I can say about this resume, well, first of all, professional skills, technical skills, and experience. It sounds like duplication and overlapping.
Yeah.
So first of all, well, again, like what just Emad mentioned, that Emad is looking into experience, like the most important highlights. Right. This one is very hard to read, to be honest. Like, especially, I know, for example, that tech recruiters, they're looking into technical skills.
I actually, to be honest, I skipped the whole professional skills section when you first
Same thing.
popped it up on the screen.
Same
Right?
thing.
Yeah.
Same thing.
There you go.
Because we are on the technical side, we are looking, okay, what is the most important in your experience?
That's right.
Right? And we're going to that section.
That's right.
So in reality, again, like resumes, they are very subjective things
They are.
that
Yeah, that's right.
that advices that can apply to me may not be applied to you, may not be applied to other people. But
Correct.
if I would be in your shoes, this is what I would do. I would remove all this bunch of bullets that are not necessary.
Yeah.
Um,
Agreed.
as just mentioned, Ahmad, I would highlight the most important part that you want to show off, right? You don't look, you have 6 seconds to grab an attention from
Yep.
any person who is reviewing this. If I would be on the hiring manager position, I would like, oh my God, all right. Too much stuff. You making me to read line by line, trying to find your uh ex- your relevant experience. Like, what are you good at, right? Make it easier. Make it easier.
That's right. Make it easier.
Make it easier. Um, test management tools, platforms. Again, like this. Well, before that, I used to put on my resume first experience on the top. Before
Yes.
I removed, like, I mean, I put the technical skills on the bottom and professional skills, like summary, I just drop it. But my first 3 bullets in my experience section was the most like important things that I've
As they
done.
should be. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's great advice.
Uh,
I think also under that experience area, we tend to talk about what we've done. So you have that there. Hey, I performed API testing in Postman. That's cool. I know how to do that. But for that specific company, what was the result? So you performed API testing. How did it benefit the team and the company? Right. If you know that in some fashion or another, that tells me that this is the kind of impact I can make. So I want to know your technical competence, but I also want to know the impact that you could make on my team potentially.
it's honestly, I think it's very hard to come up for IC specifically because they operating,
It is difficult.
right?
Yes.
And uh most of IC guys, like engineers, we are just doing. We're not really sure like what are we impacting. And this is something that we all should think about it. Like, what was the impact,
It should always be our mindset as an IC.
right?
Kind of we talked earlier about my career as well, looking at sales and marketing, like always be aware, like what was the before? And if you don't know, ask, right?
What is
Find
the
out,
result?
like, and then what was the result? What was the impact of what I just did? Because that helps here as well.
About formatting, like
Mm,
this font is, I believe it's a Time News Roman, kind of old one. I'm not sure. Pick something that easier to read. Uh, that would be. What
yeah, I
else?
think just consistent formatting, right? The
Yeah.
headlines,
Yeah,
some are indented and some are not, and those are easily fixable.
yeah.
May I ask a question? I'm sorry.
Yes, please.
Yeah,
Please.
go ahead.
Yes. Regarding the bullets, how many bullets supposed to be? And also, I know that not recruiter look for the first time. A machine looks. It goes through machine. So, like my resume, right? Like automatically, it's not the person like human who is looking at the resume. It goes through like system. Regarding words, that's supposed to be in resume, and I was just relied on this idea. So it's supposed to be like in from for the system, not for the human.
Yeah. I got this question.
Go for it.
So about the bullets, it doesn't matter how many bullets. It's not about the bullets. It's about the meaning of those bullets, right?
Yeah.
You're thinking about to fill your resume with something, and against that, you better think about, are they meaningful, right? Because look, ATS, you creating this resume not for ATS, not for this applicant tracking system machine. Though your resume will be your resume will read by recruiters, technical managers, and hiring managers. You have to write it for them. In terms of like keywords, you have those keywords in your technical skills. Again, I think this is a big, how to say, not a big misconception. Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly. That, oh, my resume is not going through the ATS. I think it's a bullshit, to be honest.
I agree. Yeah.
For example, when I'm posting the job post on LinkedIn, yes, you will set the filter like I'm looking for a software engineer with X amount of experience, let's say.
Right.
The bare minimum, Java plus something, right? So the most relevant guys, they will definitely will go on the top. The least relevant guys, they may not actually even get through that, but it doesn't mean that their resume should be flooded with the keywords and with the bullets. Look, if you're applying for a position that require 10 plus years of experience in Java, your resume will not go through, and you don't want to apply for this position as a QA engineer with a 3+ years of experience. It doesn't make any sense.
That's right.
But you should think about that. You creating this resume for person who will be reading it, not for machine who will be filtering it. It doesn't matter. Your resume will be still reading by person.
Yeah, I'm very aligned with that, Evgeny. Like, I think we got over-indexed on ATS and trying to satisfy a machine. I'll tell you from my experience with all my clients over the years, almost all of them that I can think of in the last 2 years have not been using an ATS.
Yeah.
Or using ATS as a guideline, but there's actually somebody that's filtering
Exactly
through the resumes.
The only the other thing that you need to keep in mind, again, like you are competing with a lot of people, and you can see it right on LinkedIn. When you see the job opening, you see how many applicants applied to this position, and you may see hundreds, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes it's not always that your resume will be the most relevant. Sometimes it's the timing. You applied, for example, a week ago, but the guy who applied today, his resume will be on the top because he applied recently. And yeah, you need to keep this in mind too. So again, bottom line, you should not be care about ATS at this moment. You should care about the does your resume filled with the meaningful bullets?
Yep.
Does it make sense?
Totally agree.
Oksana?
Yes, it does. So it's supposed to be like more in a simple way.
Simple. Again, 6 seconds rule. Give it to someone who can read your resume within 6 seconds, and he will say, "Oh, yeah, Oksana is a QA professional with this highlight skills," right? If this person passed this test, yeah, your resume is doing good.
And focus on accomplishments. I think that's important.
Yeah, may I ask a question regarding accomplishments? I mean, I know it's not easy to find the first job if you don't have any experience. So this is actually not my experience. Just I was supposed to put experience. So how can I find accomplishments if I don't have any? Like just me.
I think we talked about this when I talked about the KPMG story. There's always accomplishments. So maybe it was in college, or you had some projects that you did, or something else. So I think take some time to think through, up to date, like what are your things that you're most proud of so far that you've done. And it could be even a small thing. That's fine. but you want to highlight what you've done so far. I think that's really important. And always have the mindset. I always have accomplishments, right? So it could have even been something before your first job, and that's okay. I had listed things that I did in college. And I had things listed I even did in high school, right? I didn't have to say that. I just said the accomplishment and what I did. So I think take some time to think through that as well.
Okay, thank you very much. It was very beneficial for me.
You're welcome.
Happy to help.
And another spoiler, guys, let me stop sharing my
We're
screen.
doing all sorts of spoilers today. I like it.
Another spoiler. I'm creating right now a game to improve dramatically the resume.
I like it.
So stick to crushinginterview.com. This game will be for free. Anybody
Cool.
will be able to join. Anybody will be able to participate and improve your resume dramatically. So what I am feel to do as my mission is make your resume meaningful.
Yeah.
Remove all bullshit that you could put on your resume. I
love
had this situation when my resume was filled with crazy keywords that I had no idea what they are, and I had I was punished. I mean, I had consequences. I had interviews where in those I couldn't answer those
Yeah.
questions.
You don't
Oh,
want to be put in
Evgeny,
that situation.
yes,
Yeah.
Evgeny, what you mentioned in your resume that you've done this thing, and I had no idea. I ashamed to say this, but this is true. And I like, it was long time ago. You know this,
Yeah, you
standard
try to
answer.
play it off.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
right.
know the standard answer, right? Oh, it was long time ago. Yeah, but why the heck I put this one?
Well, Evgeny, I can see you light up when you're talking about the game, so I can't wait to see it.
Yeah,
I can see you're very excited about it. So.
yeah. All right, we have one more resume to review. Sure. Luda, please send it here. Also, remove your personal
Personal
stuff.
information.
Yeah,
Do not
personal
include personal information.
all right.
Understood.
You're welcome.
No, don't thank us yet.
Yeah. Let us open it. What pages? Can you send it not in the pages format? Can you PDF? Can you use PDF format? We cannot open in the pages.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Meanwhile, give me 1 second. Yeah. Meanwhile, guys, whoever is watching, please join us. We doing this podcast. I'm gonna do this podcast every Saturday.
Every Saturday.
Every Saturday, 10:30 a.m. Pacific time. Ideally, if we will be able to make it like today in outdoor. But yeah, sure. And
I like this outdoor setting.
it's refreshing.
Yeah, it's cool. It works,
We all work from
especially in
home,
California.
especially in California, yes. Especially in California. And by the way, Aman, how people can find your company?
Oh yeah. So we our company is very easy URL, technology.health. Easy.
Easy.
And also you can look me up on LinkedIn. I'm very active on LinkedIn. And we were just sharing before we started. I did start a leadership TikTok this year.
Nice.
So you can see me there as well.
I'm following.
3 channels right there. Technology.health, LinkedIn, TikTok. And maybe we can include the links.
Absolutely.
Send
Yeah.
that out. So
I will I'll send this link into the, you know what, let me check how is the LinkedIn doing. Maybe we have there some comments.
sure.
1 second. Oh yeah, we have comments there. This is. Let me check. Let me check. A second. Here we go.
Cool.
I'll post 2 comments. Here is the first.
Yep, that's our company site.
Yeah,
And you could include our LinkedIn or our TikTok as well.
LinkedIn.
We're everywhere.
Let's include Emad your LinkedIn profile. How about that? Hey, here we go. We missed a lot of comments in the LinkedIn.
Yeah, that's right.
All right. Oh, by the way, if you want to join next Saturday as a, as a guest maybe, or as a listener in the Zoom chat, I'll send you this link, guys. Join us in the crashinginterview.com. So you can actually send us resume to review, or you can ask questions if you have. Please,
Awesome.
you are welcome. All right, I think.
We got one more to review.
Yeah,
Let's
I
see.
think you made it in PDF
Let's do it.
format. Great. Yes, awesome. Great. Well, let me share my screen really quick. Hold
Um,
on. That's okay. It's very generic.
Yeah.
This one. Is it? No, not this one. This one.
I'm digging the music here.
Yeah,
I like it for Saturday morning.
it is.
Good.
Are you guys able to see this resume? All right. Yuda is a QA automation engineer. And
So my eyes just went to, I've automated 80% of manual test cases from scratch using JavaScript, Cypress, and Mocha. Like that's to me, like credit to you. Like you gave me a benefit right away. It's measurable, and you gave me the tech stack. So I can tell you're at least a sampling of your competence and the results of your work. That was really well done right there.
yep. Also meaningful that you emphasize like your years of experience in automation and manual testing, agency specializing in web. Interesting. I think still like this section is a bit too much. I think
As in too many words.
too
You
many
think? Yeah.
words. Yeah, could be 3-4 lines to be honest. The rest you should be emphasized in the experience section. But and I'm not sure like if it is a formatting or but you losing a lot of real estate in the resume in the skills and tools section. You see, like I'm not sure. You are taking like 1/3 of your resume. Actually, yes, 1/3 of the whole resume is
As in almost too much white space.
too much white
Yeah,
space.
okay.
Yeah. But overall, let me see. 2 pages, QA manual engineer. I'm confused about this QA manual thing, right? It's like it sounds weird to be honest, that you either just QA engineer or you just QA automation engineer. But I think this is something you can drop manual.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. When I see QA manual engineer, it means somebody who just clicks on screens.
Yeah,
That's the perception,
yeah,
for better or for worse. And I'm sure you did much more than that. So as is apparent from your description.
right. And look, your resume, I mean, you could fit your resume in one page, your experience, but instead you're using 2/3 of your resume uh, with the summary that I'm not gonna say that nobody's read, but again, if it's too long, then it's not a real summary. Then you need to show it in
Well,
experience.
the first thing I read was the third line.
Yes,
So
exactly, right? So
just
this is
start with that.
what grab attention, and this
Yeah.
is great. And for technical recruiters, that would be also a thing. They're also looking
That's right.
what you did, how you did it, and what did you accomplish,
Yeah.
right? So treat it as ads, for example, right? So you have just couple seconds to grab an attention,
Right.
and you don't have any other chances. Each word that you put here should be very meaningful. Don't put it, don't try to flood, and don't try. So
All right, look at it as I'm looking to buy a product. The product is you.
yes,
So what does the
exactly.
product do for me? What are the benefits? You know, what would happen if I bought the product? How would my life change?
Exactly.
Right.
And again, a lot of fluff like this one consistently demonstrate a high level of attention to detail. Uh, I think we said this in the last resume reviews. Like we're already assuming that you should demonstrate high level of attention to detail.
So you would remove it then.
I would remove it.
I agree.
I would remove it.
Yeah.
And like I already assume that you have like, for example, working closely with development team, find issues. Yeah, it sounds like more in the I don't know, experience section.
Yeah.
But question would be like, why do you highlight those making in a bold font, automation, manual testing, these keywords? What do you think about this?
Are you, what are you saying about the keywords?
Do you think, I mean, for me personally, it's more disturbing, like when I see highlighted words
Yeah.
in the resume. Like, do you want me to ask you about those or are you emphasizing that you are really good at this is your main thing?
I get the intention, I think, is to put some emphasis,
Yeah,
but bolding things is a no-go on a resume.
yeah,
You just let the words speak for themselves.
exactly.
Make sure it's structured well. They're gonna find them if they're looking for them, right? And like I said, I like that third sort of bullet. I didn't even need the bold words to draw my attention to it, so I would remove bold at all.
Yeah, I think that would be a general suggestion to anyone. Like,
Yeah.
do not make bold words in your, like, don't mess it up with a regular font. You have already, like, what is the most important is your name, your title. And that's it.
That's it.
That's it. Everything else we'll figure it out. Creating automated test scripts. Why test scripts? No, for example, this one, right? Like, why you capitalize test scripts, test cases.
Yep.
I'm not quite sure. It's not, I mean, yeah. What else?
That's all I can think of for this one.
Yeah, you could save space for skills and tools for sure.
Yes.
Even put it in some, let me see, in some one line. I see playwright. I see Cypress Selenium WebDriver. I see, well, those things could be in one line for sure, because it's the test automation frameworks or tools. REST API. Yeah. Why you're putting CSS, HTML, and CI/CD in one line? I'm not sure what is the logic here. Because looks like CSS and HTML could be put it along with, I don't know, with the programming languages.
I think, like you said, the whole section is problematic.
Yes, the whole skills tools is like it's not. You didn't really thought through like how to organize this section, right? So when you putting them in one line, there should be a logic,
Yeah.
or at least like, you know. Yeah. Do you have questions for us? Let me stop sharing screen. I mean, guys, if you have questions, please, you can ask.
You're welcome. No
Yeah.
problem.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Happy to help.
All right, guys, I think we are good for today.
This was awesome.
That was very interesting
Yeah.
session. Two interesting resumes, with a very similar, not mistakes, but I would say, yeah, I can say with similar mistakes,
Similar patterns, certainly.
similar
Yeah.
patterns. Yeah,
Yeah.
but I had the same pattern, so there's nothing wrong.
No.
There's nothing wrong about it. It's a good thing that you guys came and want to improve your resume. This is much better than, you know, just throwing left and right without
I
thinking
agree.
that, oh,
It's a
should
great
I
idea.
should I improve it, right?
Yeah.
You're on the right path. Anyway, thank you very much. Thank you, Emad.
Thank you, Evgeny. I
That
appreciate
was
the opportunity and how aligned we are
yeah,
on our
yeah.
principles and values. I think that's really important.
So guys, we're gonna have another podcast about hiring processes, what we should improve. I think that would be a message for hiring managers,
I have all sorts of stories on hiring practices.
right?
Oh, yeah.
Awesome, awesome. All right, guys, I'll see you then next Saturday, and I'll talk to you soon.
See you
Bye-bye.
guys.